Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
Amazing. We are watching all of the Star Wars movies leading up to Episode 9, so we're watching all of them before Episode 9 releases, and also Mandalorian, though we're not talking about that yet. We're going to talk about that afterwards in a non-streaming version, because people are spoiling that too much anyways.
I have spoken.
Yes, exactly. People are spoiling way too much of it. We're not going to be one of those people. Some people haven't watched any of it. And
there's one thing that's just already over. Like, if you haven't watched it, I'm sorry. It's just out there. Like, Favreau's already released concept art for it. Like, it's just he's like, everybody got Disney Plus, right? Like, I'm not waiting longer than a week for this.
I appreciated that he was like, okay, I waited a week. Like, I liked that he waited a week, except that I have friends of mine who are outside of the United States who are like, okay, we couldn't get it legitimately. Sorry. Disney Plus isn't here yet. So
I do also respect the fact, so they were talking about like Star Wars Mandalorian toys and stuff, and there are no Mandalorian toys coming for Christmas because they were keeping these spoilers under wraps. So like they managed to do it this entire time. Now that the show is launched, like it's over. But yeah, there's no Mandalorian toys coming for Christmas. They will probably be out sometime.
Other than that Black Series Mandalorian, which I want for Christmas, which Target exclusive and keeps getting snagged at my Target. I literally found it's the Mandalorian Black Series. So the Black Series are the action figures, Star Wars action figures, but it's like the higher quality ones. So like the faces actually look like the person that it's supposed to look like. So the Stormtrooper, what's that?
He wears a helmet.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like the quality is still better than like the regular.
Like he doesn't have a face.
I know the quality is still better, even if you see like the Stormtrooper Black Series, they're still better. I mentioned the face because that's real easy for people to go, oh yeah, I know what you mean, because you look at like regular Rey and you look at the Black Series and you're like, oh, that looks great. That one's been sold out. I found out my local Target guy, because I asked him, I'm like, hey, when do you get this? And he's like, we don't know. It's usually on this day. And I said, how many did you get last time? And he's like, we got three. And they had that for the week. That's just dumb. That.
Gotta love toy stuff like that, especially if it's an exclusive toy. But that's where you know that you're gonna be screwed. Like if anything is exclusive to one store, it's
that's what happens.
Star Wars thing. Like if you're picking a franchise that literally is one of the most valuable movie franchises in the world. Fun fact, by the way, we're gonna detour for just a second. Do you know what the most valuable franchise in the world is?
Ooh, okay. Well, I was gonna guess Star Wars, but now you got me second guessing it. Okay, I'm gonna go with the stupid pick. And it's probably going to be wrong. Hello Kitty.
No.
Okay. So what I was like, what's the thing that's going to surprise me?
Is in the list, I think.
Okay, I wouldn't imagine. Dude, the merchandising is insane for that.
So that's what it's all from. We're like all of it. So it's Pokemon.
Is it owned? Oh, okay. I was gonna ask, is it owned by Disney in one way or another? Yep. But Pokemon, wow. I mean,
it's billions with a B, like billions upon billions of dollars, and like 75% of it is all merchandise.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Well, the merchandise is everywhere. That was good. Merchandise is everywhere. I mean, not only can they put Pikachu on everything, but like you also have built-in people who love specific Pokemon, or you have the whole idea of like you have to collect them all. So yeah, then if you come out with Pops, everyone's got to collect every single one that they can. So
anyways, Star Wars.
Yeah, so let's take you back to 1999 and
gonna party like it's 1990.
So I remember when this got announced, and when Phantom Menace got announced, and I got the original trailer playing. When this got announced, I was confused. Even though I loved Star Wars, I was confused and hyped at the same time. I mean, there were new stuff. There was the stuff that we love. But I'll admit, like, I absolutely loved it when it came out. I know there's hate for this movie, but I absolutely loved it when it came out. And watching it again, it's not as bad as people say. It isn't. No. It isn't. I have some nitpicks. Don't get me wrong, but man, people just trash this movie.
There's good reasons to trash this movie.
Yes,
but there's also lots of reasons to love this movie.
Yeah.
There's absolutely very valid reasons to trash it, because what you don't recognize, children, is that this is a children's movie. It is not an adult movie. This is not for you people that saw this in 1976 and remember it fondly. It is for your children to now see it. And that is why, if you look at it with the eyes of a child, you will probably love it. There are tons of people who their first Star Wars movie was Episode 1, and they loved it and kind of grew their fandom from.
Owen cut out for a second. We're gonna wait for him to come back.
But if you're looking at it with an adult lens, yeah, it's what top children's at it too. Oh. It's just
sorry, you cut out. Oh, he cut out again. Trust me, he's talking about how much he loves Star Wars. Check your comments while
it's like this.
Yeah, sorry, man. You're cutting out there. You're talking about, like, it's a children's movie. I would say it's a family movie more than a children's movie, but yeah, it's aimed at children. There's a reason that Jar Jar had, like, such a big focus in this movie. People argue about the original trilogy not being for children. Yeah, it was totally for children, especially Return of the Jedi. But yeah, it is for children. That's where my arguments actually are for this movie. What I don't like about the movie, because I dismissed everything else. So I'm like, yeah, it's a kids movie. There's two aspects that I don't like about it for it being a kids movie. And one of them, I would put this in my category of things that I noticed, but unfortunately, I have critiqued this movie so much and watched critiques of this movie that it's already spoiled. So the one that's not a critique my main subject is the fact that all of this deals with so much of political ideas of trade and taxation, which kids don't quite understand. But here's what gets me in the confusion. Can you explain the bet for Anakin Skywalker?
Like Watto's bet?
Yeah, so there's two bets. It's a bet on a bet on a bet. And that is contrived and confusing.
Yeah, if they lose the pod race, Watto keeps his ship, or their ship. And before they bet for Anakin, so it's ship versus parts. Like you get to keep the money, minus parts. That's the first bet that I know. I don't think Anakin was involved at all in the first bet.
Yeah, Anakin wasn't involved in the first bet. The first bet is specifically for the parts. And it's you get the ship, and if I win, if I lose, you get the ship. If I win, you get the winnings minus parts. Then it turns into I'm going to put the pod, because they're lying, saying that, which of course is so ethical. They're lying and saying that Qui-Gon owns the pod that they're going to race, and then he bets. It adds that to the bet with Anakin, but the layers and in the way it's explained isn't that dead on. So I've heard people like complain about that, like who were younger and were like, I never kind of got it. I mean, I kind of got that he was going to be free, but like what was the downside? Like they didn't understand the downside. I'm like, the downside is they would be stranded on the planet. Yeah, they'd be stranded on Tatooine. So, but it's confusing for kids to watch that and listen to them go over a bet and then remember the previous bet. We're going to add to it. That's a little confusing. So, other than that, I mean, yeah, it's a fun kids movie, and it's good stuff.
Something that I realized watching it again, because I haven't watched it all the way through in years. I've watched The Duel of the Fates a billion times, but and I've watched this movie a billion times. I just haven't watched it in a long time. But a new thing that I noticed right away is how many force powers they show off.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like within the first 5 minutes of the movie, they showed so many force powers. And I was like, yes! That is what we're talking about. Like, look how fast they are. Look how, like they're blowing stuff away. They're doing all these things that we saw in the...
Fortunately, that stream dropped out again.
I know.
Sorry, man, your stream dropped out a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, they're using force powers that were used in video games you and I played, and bringing in things that other people assumed Jedi could do, but it was like subtly done. Yeah, I mean, it was freaking amazing to see that, you know. And of course, you mentioned the duel. It's one of the best duels on the. I thought I had that queued up, so I'll check that here in a second. But one of the best duels in regards to choreography. I know that people will say like, oh well, it's too choreographed and it didn't have the emotion that some of the other ones have. Like, yeah, okay, I get that, but we're literally talking about, you know, let's see the Jedi in their prime fighting, and this shows it. It's amazing. So I love it.
I don't know that you can, like, who cares about it's choreographed? Like, whatever. At that point. Yeah.
Well, I've seen like people like complain because they were like, oh, it was too choreographed. I'm like, yeah, that was kind of the point. We were trying to see what Jedi could do against a Sith Lord, because up to this point, the Sith Lords that we saw were an old man and a man who was barely man anymore. He was mostly machine and couldn't move very much. So now you're seeing them the Jedi in their prime fighting a Sith that they're not equipped to deal with because of the peace that they've had, and the fact that Darth Maul is just amazing. So I had one thing that actually my wife didn't notice until this recent time watching it, though, is that Darth Maul his voice is not Ray Park. No. So, which, yeah, I can't remember the guy's name now, but they voiced him over. I think he knew that was going to happen, so he wasn't butthurt about it like some people. But man, this fight scene's amazing.
Yeah, that was just one thing that I noted as like one of my favorite things. It's just like Darth Maul's a bad dude.
Yeah,
he's a bad dude. He's off, and he's so great in Rebels as well, which I know that we're going to get you to in the new year. Can you tell me how many words does Darth Maul say in this movie?
Is it like 10 or 11?
No, it's a little bit more than that.
It is?
It's not very many. Okay.
But I can only think of like one sentence. How many is it?
31 words.
31? Okay.
Which is the fun part that I had looking this up, is that it is less words than Arnold Schwarzenegger says in the very first Terminator movie.
Wow.
In Terminator 1, Arnold Schwarzenegger says 58 words, and Darth Maul said 31.
I will say Arnold had a lot more screen time, but yeah, that's impressive. And for them to introduce a character, kill them off, and still people buy toys of the character, because usually if you kill off a character, kids don't buy toys of the character, and this didn't happen. I don't know if you knew about that phenomenon, but that's what happened with like Optimus Prime and Optimus Prime and some others. Like, kids didn't buy as many Optimus Prime after he died, even though they'd keep coming out with them. So what was the movie Rogue One? Like, people were surprised that they would end the way that it did because of that reason. They were like, no one's going to buy toys.
I don't know. I don't know how many Rogue One toys you'd be buying anyway. I mean, I get it. I don't know. I'd be buying just ships. I only buy Star Wars Legos anyway.
How about this one? Because it's Alan Tudyk, so yeah, I had to.
So Darth Maul being a bad man, like, he so underutilized. I think that is probably one of my least favorite parts of the movie. Is just that, like, you have such a bad dude. He's so good. You can clearly tell, like, when he's fighting Qui-Gon, when he's fighting both of them, like, when he kills Qui-Gon, like, that dude is just awesome. and just they didn't use them enough.
Yeah, two scenes, very brief fight, and then the big fight at the end. Yeah,
I found it strange where like how similar he is to Darth Vader, and the fact that he does not care about what his actual like mission is. Like, so he's supposed to be protecting the Viceroy. He's just down there in the ship hangar, chilling by that thing, and he's like, "What's up, Jedi? How you doing?" Like, and Viceroy's all the way up on the top floor.
Yeah.
Like, there's no Darth Maul anywhere near that Viceroy.
Yeah. Oh, I viewed it as like Maul is just hyper aggression, and he's like, well, a good way to protect the Viceroy is kill the Jedi, like not defend the Viceroy, just go and kill the Jedi, because that's like the threat to the Viceroy would be if you kill the Jedi, then there's a chance. Without the Jedi, they stood a better chance of winning, especially the fact that they were there and he could sense them. So yeah. Plus, the droids aren't going to stand up to them. No. So, well, it was I mean, like, I think this is probably going to be the low point for our viewing.
Not Attack of the Clones.
I think
I love Attack of the Clones personally.
I like Attack of the Clones better than this.
Okay.
I will say, watching it again. Oh, you know what? That's the other thing. Sorry, I did actually notice something that I didn't notice before. Natalie Portman does voice over Keira Knightley in this movie. Yeah, which I didn't. I was like listening, and I'm like, wow, Keira Knightley's even butchering this accent. And then I realized, oh no, it's not Keira Knightley. Like,
there's only one time where Kira's talking.
Well, yeah, but there's only one time where Kira's talking, but it's not her voice, because it's Natalie Portman dubbing it.
I'm pretty sure Kira's talking to Big Boss Gungan.
I thought that. Oh, you're right. At the
when she reveals herself.
When she reveals herself, yes. There's another time where she is talking, but it's actually Natalie Portman covering up. Yes, you're correct. It is her talking in that scene, and I think they did that just so you had that separation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, also Sophia. I already knew this, but Sophia Coppola is also one of the handmaidens, so that's kind of cool. But I don't know if there were anybody else, but.
Sure, that could be. It could be like when we talk about like Force Awakens later, where like Daniel Craig is the stormtrooper that gets like coerced by the Force.
Yes,
one of my favorite things. Where it's just...
Which I love. I love that story about it. We'll talk about it here a little bit, but like I love that he was like, I want to be in Star Wars. I have to be in Star Wars.
Yeah,
like that would be me. That would totally be me. Yeah,
completely respect it.
Yeah. I think that this movie visually has some great things. I mean, this is one of the first time that they like did heavy CGI, but there's good use of it. There's bad use of it. I think that when you're watching the droids, it's a great use of it, because you can't do that unless you're doing stop motion. You can't really do that with actors. I think that the costumes in this are amazing in comparison to the previous movies. You get to see a lot. I mean, especially with the Queen and everything, you get to see a lot of that, and you get to actually see the Senate, which was talked about in Episode 4 and then never again. So because it was dissolved, but yeah,
didn't it win? It was nominated for Best Costume Academy, wasn't it?
I wouldn't doubt it. There's some really good costumes. But yeah, the. Like there's so many things I like about that I don't like and like, but overall I'd say this is probably the low point for me when it comes to watching these. I kind of dreaded watching it. I was halfway through it and Whitney was like, do you want to watch something else? And part of me did, just because it just kind of drags during, like, before the pod race. It just kind of drags in regards to like watching it again. But I kept watching it because it's Star Wars and I know it's leading to better stuff. That's just my opinion on it. It's still like I said, it's not the worst movie on the planet.
Yeah, I don't feel like I didn't feel any points where like I want to turn this off. There's just points where like the cheese is like the kids' cheese, like the pod race. Like it's supposed to be this like serious moment and everything, and it's not serious at all.
No, it's not.
That was one of the things that actually like kind of bugged me a little bit. Where like the only part that was really like serious was Anakin. Like Sebulba's not serious. Like he's just breaking stuff off and like and then there's that dude sitting there for like the entirety of the race until his like power coupling goes away, and he's just like beating it on it. And there's a dude who comes in for a pit stop, and one of the little fixer droids just flies through his podcast, and now podcast, pod racer, and now he's out of the race. I didn't
super silly.
That's where it gets too kid movie for me, where I'm just like, okay, it's supposed, like, I can't take this seriously if your droid just broke your pod racer and everybody is cool with that.
It's super silly, and you're right. Like, he should be the silly one. Like, no one else should be silly. Anakin should be silly because he's a kid going like, I'm living the dream. This is crazy. Like, and people give him so much crap. Like, he was a kid. He was given really bad direction. But like I would want Sebulba, like he's like, he always wins the pod races. Like, that should be your what's his name? Drogo from what's it, Rocky 4 kind of. Yeah, I'm just thinking like you want someone you're like, geez, like if I like just question him, I may die. That kind of like feeling. And he's funny. And he like threatens somebody. It's just funny. None of that's serious. Jabba, like, it's cool we got to see Jabba, but like even then it's just But yeah, I agree. The tone of the pod race should be tense, and it really wasn't tense because you get a bunch of Warner Brothers Looney Tunes stuff going on.
Yeah, other than like I'm not going to really go into the other stuff like super hyper bug me. Like, we're just midi-chlorians, we know, Gungans, we know. Both of those things are the things that make this movie suck. Like, Gungans are the worst thing ever, and I feel bad saying that, knowing what they made happen to Jar Jar in the future. I don't know if you know this. Do you know what happened to Jar Jar in the future?
I don't, but tell me, because...
So there's a book, one of like the new Star Wars books comes along, and he's hanging out on a planet, and he's a street performer, a depressed little clown who knows that he is at fault for, and even though he's technically not, it would have happened regardless, but he's the one that put the Emperor in power, and he knows it, and he's just a depressed little street performer Gungan guy.
Well, that's depressing. That's even more depressing than I thought you were gonna say. He like died, like they give him like a horrible death. I'm like, this is even more depressing. The fact that he's intelligent enough to know that he's at fault, or blame himself, and God, that's depressing, but fitting. Yeah,
and so learning that about him, I forget which novel it's in. It's a new one that came out in the last few years, but yeah, he's a street clown. And then we're not going to talk about midichlorians. Like the creation of Anakin actually does not bother me. The way that he came into existence does not bother me. It's just that midichlorian count thing that bothers me.
No, I agree.
For those of you who don't know, he's a result of a manipulation of the Force.
Yes, spoilers. But yeah.
Well, it's not in the movie anymore.
Well, here's it's another thing that's like it's subtle in there, but like I guess this is probably answered. I assumed that it's probably answered in a book. I didn't read it. Sure. I always assumed that Plagueis was the one who did it, and Palpatine was his apprentice during that time to do that. Because some people were saying Palpatine did it. I thought it was Plagueis. It's Plagueis, right?
Yeah, it's both of them.
Okay. Well, but Plagueis was still alive, therefore I call...
Plagueis was still alive in episode 1.
That's true.
That's what a lot of people also don't realize, is that Plagueis was actually alive right up until around... He could have been killed during episode 1. He could have been killed right after. Mm-hmm. I don't remember like what the actual like little timeline of that is in there, but like Plagueis did not know the existence of Darth Maul. Palpatine was still technically his apprentice during that time, and Palpatine kills him right around this time because that's what puts him on this path. Like, not that he wasn't already on the path, but like where he was becoming the Supreme Chancellor. Like right around Chancellor time is right around when Plagueis dies. Yeah. Which is it's off screen, and he references it as, because he's like, have you ever heard the legend, as we'll hear him talk about later? And it's like legend of something that happened like 6 years ago or something. Yeah, not that long ago. So I don't mind the fact that like Anakin is a result of Plagueis' manipulation. That part didn't bother me. It's the part of just like that's what made him the chosen one. Like you had to give this like thing. Like, it wasn't enough that like she's all of a sudden pregnant and having little Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't enough. You have to introduce this really weird aspect that nobody's ever heard of.
So the interesting
I really wanted it to be 9,000 instead of 20,000, by the way.
So the interesting thing about the midichlorians, though, and I didn't know this until earlier this year. I'm probably going to put it. It's going to be on one of my lists of videos. As I'm going to have some other Star Wars videos where we go over some facts and stuff. George Lucas mentions midichlorians in 1977. It's been something that he was
script or
in interviews and in talks with other people explaining the Force. He mentioned it in 1977. There's a video that goes through like all this stuff that he'd been planning like the whole time. So like, and by planning I mean like he mentioned it in 77, 78, that area. In addition to that, he also said that the Emperor rose to power due to like political disputes or trade, like taxation and trade and stuff. Did you just Google it?
I'm just nodding along with you.
Okay. Yeah, like he mentioned, he's like, and he also said C-3PO was built by a child. He didn't say Anakin, but he said it was built by a child. So like, there's a lot of things that Lucas had in his brain like the whole time.
Yeah.
And then when he's doing the prequels, so some people are like, oh, it's a lot of fan service. And I'm like, I don't think it's fan service. I think there's some things in here that we didn't need to have explained, because when you see Vader, he's menacing, he's terrible, and then you realize, oh, he's Luke Skywalker's father. You're like, wow, this guy fell, and he knew Obi-Wan. Like, a lot of this already, so so much is going to lead up to it. That's where I'm saying like it's not as bad as Solo, which we'll probably get to, but
that's where it's just a lore thing. Like in some cases, when the fact that like people try and like make Star Wars more than it is sometimes, like, it's a space opera. Like, it's not supposed to be extremely deep. It's okay that it is a little deep.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot that you can do with the universe, but like, not everything needs this like little George R.R. Martin detail.
Yeah.
Like, respect to those kind of fantasy worlds and everything. Star Wars is definitely a fantasy. It's just that sometimes with something like a midichlorian, like you don't need that detail. Who cares? Like, it's the Force. he's really strong in the Force. Done.
That's all that matters. I did have a coworker say, I'll end on this at least, like, because we could keep rambling about things we like and don't like, but
yeah,
I had a coworker once explain to me. So this is shout out to Mitch, who taught me a lot of stuff when it came to telecom. Like in my first. I guess it was my first really technical job in the industry.
Yeah.
And he was saying like I was saying, yeah, midichlorians sucked. He's like, no. Empire, like I said midichlorians destroyed the Force, and he's like, no, Empire Strikes Back destroyed the Force. Like, what are you talking about? He's like, when A New Hope came out, when Star Wars came out, he was like, the Force was this mystical like Zen Buddha thing. And then Empire Strikes Back comes out, and it's like, oh, you can also like you can communicate with people from afar, and you can move objects, and then they throw lightning into it in Return of the Jedi. So like he had a similar aspect of it watching the first movie and then having something ruined, if you will. He was being melodramatic about it, but at the same time, I never thought about it because we grew up in Star Wars having, like you said, like Force powers that were more than just tricks of the mind. So I thought that was interesting because to him, he was like, he liked Star Wars prior to lightning, Force lightning and everything.
By the way, I don't know where each one of these comments falls. I'm sorry, Alex. I didn't have the comments open.
Yeah.
So I didn't know when you were saying things, but shout outs to Alex, who's been commenting along with our Star Wars action.
Yeah.
He also says that number 2 is the worst. I don't know. Solo's the worst. And I don't even hate Solo. Solo's the worst Star Wars movie, in my opinion. I will take Attack of the Clones over Solo, and I know that is going to be a super unpopular opinion.
Oh no. I would totally take that. I would say Solo and Phantom Menace should be like, you pick one of those as your worst. That's really what it is.
As far as like out of the 8 mainline Star Wars, like, yeah. I don't know, like 1 and 2 are like at the bottom for me.
Yeah.
And then it's probably like 8. But like I hate, like, this is just what I hate doing, because to me none of them are the worst. Like, and Alex knows this, and I know Alex is in a little bit of agreement. We've had this discussion before. Like, I don't hate a single Star Wars movie. I don't like, even Solo, which I think is the worst Star Wars movie, I'll still give it a 7. It's not bad. It's just not the best Star Wars movie.
I give it like a 6 because it was enjoyable. It was a fun ride.
That's why I get a 7. It's a C.
Alex saying Solo needed a different actor. I thought he was okay. There's another guy. I can't remember. It didn't. That's my problem with it. It didn't need to be made. The only thing
before we need a Solo movie.
Yeah. The only thing that we saw, because the thing is, the whole movie was fan service. We'll talk about it when we go over it again, rewatch it again, because I'm going to make you do it. It wasn't needed. It just really wasn't needed. The only thing that we saw that didn't need an answer was how did he get his blaster, which ruins Star Wars canon, by the way, because that's a model of blaster. Yeah. And they changed it where it's like, oh, it's actually part of a rifle. I'm like, no, it's not. So, yeah, I don't like it.
And so, but again, even with all that, I don't hate it. I enjoyed it. I had a decent time. Like, you stick Amelia Clark in something, I'm probably gonna like it anyway. But
that's why I'm watching Last Christmas. So
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah.
I saw somewhere I saw a comment on like a Last Christmas trailer, because I randomly like to see what people think of trailers, and somebody was like, Amelia, you don't need to be doing this, and I'm like, what, make money? Like, you're gonna fault the lady for working now that Game of Thrones is over?
Yeah. And it's not like, I haven't seen it yet. I heard the good things, but like, it wasn't just a Hallmark movie. Like, people are like, it's a Hallmark movie. I'm like, apparently it gets dark, so yeah.
Like Alex said, I would have preferred a Lando movie. I would have preferred just any movie where we just they hadn't been the front person. Like Han Solo is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is Han Solo. Yeah. Like, to me, just, you don't even need to replace it. And even though we have two different Obi-Wans, at this point, Ewan McGregor played Obi-Wan enough and deeply enough and greatly enough where he deserves his miniseries that he's going to get on Disney Plus. Can't wait for it. But with Han Solo, it's just like that's like recasting Luke Skywalker. It's like recasting Leia Organa. Like, you just can't do it.
Yeah, you don't do it. Lobot movie is what I'm waiting for.
What?
I'm joking. I said a Lobot movie. You're talking about like side characters. I'm like, who's like the character that has the?
I need Greedo. That's what. Wedge Antilles would be like a Rogue Squadron movie.
Rogue Squadron movie.
Would be dope.
That would be cool. There's so many things that you could do. I mean, obviously, I was a kid during it, but like, I'd like to see some Shadows of the Empire. Like, give me a Shadows of the Empire movie where you have all this stuff going on. You have Dash Rendar, you have all the other stuff, and like, you just have glimpses of like characters, like Leia and other ones. Like, you hear her like off in the distance or something. Like, give me a audio clip of from Empire Strikes Back of her like yelling and telling people to like leave, and Dash Rendar's like shooting wampas and stuff. Like, I want to see that. I want to see that movie. Yeah,
there's tons of things, and that's what we're getting with like something like The Mandalorian, where it's like we don't know anything about The Mandalorian. We still don't know who he is. We still don't know if we're going to see other famous Mandalorians. Like the one from Rebels, whose name I always forget right now, but she's awesome. We're probably like Boba Fett. We don't know his fate in the new universe, but we don't know who this Mandalorian is. That's what you can do with Star Wars. You don't have to keep going deeper on some of these characters. Just play with the universe.
Yeah, Mandalorian proves that like, you don't have to shoehorn in characters to make people watch it, because obviously, like we mentioned already, there's something in there that everyone's freaking out about and posting pictures about, but that's not why The Mandalorian's great.
No, it's all love that nods. Like, there's so many nods. Like, there's I saw somebody who was like, I don't like Star Wars. Well, I like The Mandalorian. And I was like, I mean, you might, but you're gonna miss every single nod. You're not gonna know what any of the man. There's so I can't. We're gonna spoiler cast this in January. There's one thing from the first episode that I just want to talk about so bad because it was so cool, but.
We need a doc to list those out so I can have them like ready to show like when we do that. Yeah, definitely. So we'll end at least on episode 1. Like our thoughts on it are, if you're watching all the Star Wars movies, you have to watch it. It has some great visuals.
It's action packed.
Yeah, action packed. The dialogue is people trying to talk. Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor could not save this movie, and that's what.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah, Liam Neeson. Yeah, I mean, and that's honestly, that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited about the Obi-Wan series. Is I'm like, oh, you mean we get more Obi-Wan. And Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan, because we didn't get enough in these movies. So yeah, I'm completely happy about that, because he was not the main focus, arguably the main focus in those movies. Yeah, I'm fine with more Obi-Wan.
And before so you know how you said before, like, Ewan wasn't really interested in Star Wars, right? Like,
yes.
Did you hear what he said recently though?
Well, I know he said he wasn't interested in Star Wars, and like he laughed when they mentioned like the Attack of the Clones. Like, I don't know if you saw the video of that, but like, yeah, so like he laughed.
It turns out he was lying though.
What?
He's been like, the thing is that he's been trying to make this miniseries happen for so long, he couldn't talk about it. Like
I know about that. Yeah.
For years, and trying to figure out how to make it work, and he could never like be like, yeah, I'm trying to make it happened. So
four years of being in talks. I did hear about that. What I was talking about was like when they were talking about to him in, was it 2000 or 2001, they're like, hey, we got the title for your next Star Wars movie. There's a recording of a video of him on the red carpet for Moulin Rouge, I think. And they're like, yeah, it's called Attack of the Clones. And he like laughs. He's like, that is terrible.
No, I remember us talking at one point where he like flat up like denied that he wanted to do the character again, and apparently that was
yeah. He was deflecting like crazy. I do know that. He was deflecting like crazy because he's like, I can't say. And I think he said that he would either say like he wasn't really interested. He would go between that or saying like, yeah, I guess I guess if Disney wants to talk to me, I guess I'll talk. You know, if they call me, I'll talk to him about it. And he was the whole time going like, there's so many things that I could say, but he wasn't saying anything. And this is the reason that non-disclosure agreements happen, because he could have spilled the beans early on and said like, we're gonna make an Obi-Wan movie, an Obi-Wan trilogy, and like people would be expecting that. That's not what we're getting. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. That's what it's for.
Episode 1, not as bad as you think, but then I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But me and Patrick are a little bit more hardcore, and that's why you come here.
Exactly. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you thought about episode 1, and we'll talk about Mandalorian later, so don't spoil that in the comments. But let us know what you thought about episode 1. Is it your worst? Is it your least favorite movie? Is it the worst thing ever? It's not.
Attack of the Clones next week.
Yeah, we'll see you later.